Are the Detroit Tigers the best team in the American League? Has Skubal finally reached his peak status of being the best pitcher in Major League Baseball? And what has been the leading success in the Detroit Tigers this season? All this will be answered, plus much more, next on Austin's Academy of Sports. The 21-13 Detroit Tigers are not only in first place in the American League Central, but they're also in first place in the whole American League. And that just goes to show you, I guess, numbers around the Detroit Tigers, because this whole podcast is just going to be about numbers and how the Detroit Tigers have been off to an impressive start, none the least to say, against all of their opponents this season. They've put up gaudy numbers against the American League Central teams, currently on their West Coast trip as I speak right now, up 5-0 in the bottom of the third in Anaheim against the Los Angeles Angels. Now the Angels are without Mike Trout, so a little bit less of a, I guess you could say, win for the Tigers, but that's still a win. They're 21-13 right now, on the verge of being 21-14. First place in the American League Central, the hottest start they've ever gotten off to in program history for the Detroit Tigers, and it's just a sight for sore eyes, because when you think of Detroit, you don't really think of high popular demand players that want to come play for the Tigers. You want to think of like gritty mentality for the Tigers, and that's what they're built upon this year under the helm of A.J. Hinch, their dominant pitching staff, and with the help of Chris Fetter, their pitching coach, one of the best to do it, by the way. He has transformed and helped transform Casey Mize from being that number one overall draft pick in the year that he was drafted, and now look where he is today. He's top 5 in ERA in the American League. He's a dominant pitcher, and he's only the 5th guy that comes out every other 5th day for the Tigers to pitch. You got a rotation highlighted by Tarek Skubal, Jack Flaherty, who you re-signed last year from the Dodgers, eventually traded away, and then for a haul of draft prospects from the Dodgers. And then in the offseason, you go back and sign them again, so you kind of get a win-win there if you're the Detroit Tigers as an organization. Then third, coming out of that third day, you got Reese Olson. And then you got fourth, Jackson Jobe, rounded out by Casey Mize. Just a dominant pitching staff for the Detroit Tigers. But that's not the only thing they're good at. They are impressive on the offensive side of the ball as well. They have many players, top 5 team in a lot of American League hitting categories this season, highlighted by batting average. This is all team stats, by the way. Team batting average, team runs, team hits, doubles, whatever you want to say. They're top 5 in the American League, and they're showing it, being the first team in the American League to reach that 20-win plateau just a few short days ago. I believe it was on the beginning of their West Coast trip, because they started out. No, they didn't start out. They started out with L.A. in Los Angeles to begin the season, and now they're back in Anaheim playing the Angels as we speak. Like I mentioned, 5-0. Sweeney's had an RBI in today's game. Carpenter had another RBI, and then Colt Keith, the sight for sore eyes as well, hit a homer in that top of the third. So if you're wherever you're watching, you probably won't be able to see this. Look up the Colt Keith homer that he hit on May 4th. It probably was a bomb, so I'm obviously not watching it right now, but it went deep, 392 feet, ESPN says. But getting back to that Tigers talk, they're handling business. They're taking care of business at home. They're 10-8 at home. Or I'm sorry, they're 13-3 at home, and then they're 8-10 on the road, working for that 9th win on the road against the Angels today. But taking care of business is not easy, especially in any professional sport. Baseball, long game, 9-inning games, and of course when they go into doubleheaders or rain delays or extra innings, it's even harder to come away with that win. But you got to be on your A game, and the Tigers so far haven't been able to do it. You think of the players that they have, and you think of the players that they don't have compared to like a roster like the Dodgers, for example, who are highlighted by at least a $1 billion to $2 billion roster for the Dodgers. This is a scrappy Detroit Tigers team, and it all started last year when they made the playoffs. They shook the whole world up in that wild card series, beating the Astros in Houston. My favorite moment watching the Tigers baseball that I can remember. I know that in 2012 they got to the World Series, got swept by the Giants. I was still alive for that, obviously, but from what I can remember, I liked watching that postseason, I guess you could say, semi-run last year to finally spark some offense for the Tigers this season. Coming into this season, they were kind of an underthought in this American League Central. Many people thought the Royals would take control of it. Many people thought the Guardians would take control of it. And no, that's not the case so far. About almost 40 games into the season, the Tigers are standing their ground in first place. Guardians right behind them, and then the Royals. But the Twins and the Chicago White Sox, of course, the laughing stock, I guess you could say, of the American League Central, for the White Sox at least. Nobody thought the Twins would be bad, and look where they are now. And this is all going without the following players that I'm going to mention who are injured and who have been injured at some point in this season. Highlighted by Jake Rogers, out right now with an oblique strain since early April. He's taken a little bit of batting practice, according to some Tiger sources. Manny Margot, he's been out since early April as well with a patellar tendon strain. But currently, if you're a Tigers fan, you got some good news with them, because two of these players that I'm going to be mentioning, and a lot of them are actually going to be starting rehab assignments. Manny Margot, Matt Vierling already have started rehab assignments with the Toledo Mudhens as we speak, actually. So next you got Matt Vierling, a rotor cuff strain. He hasn't seen a minute of playing on the action so far this season, injuring his rotor cuff in spring training. Alex Cobb, along with Matt Vierling, has not seen any playing time, who we got out. The Tigers GM, Scott Harris, went out and signed him to a contract in the offseason. We kind of didn't need him, but we got him for depth right now, and he's dealing with a little bit of hip inflammation. Been out since March. Another player that's been out since March. Kind of the highlight of this list is Parker Meadows. Everybody thought he'd come into the season blaring coming into the season, and now he didn't. He hasn't even seen the field yet. Arm nerve discomfort. He'll be reevaluated probably in about 2 to 3 weeks. But those are, 5 to 6 players that I currently mention, plus much more, that the Tigers are dealing with injuries. And I know that injuries are part of this game, but right now we're playing well without them. And even when they come back, they're going to take some roles away from some of these utility players like Zach McKinstry or Andy Ibanez. And where are you going to put all these players? Are you going to send some players back down to AAA? So you got some decisions to make when these players like Manny Margot and Matt Vierling finally get healthy and see the field this season. That doesn't deter them, though. They, especially on the pitching side of the ball, you got, like I mentioned, Skubal, Flaherty, Mize, Job, and Olsen all rearing to go for the Tigers this season. And they are, like I said, Mize top 5 in ERA the last time I checked. He's got another matchup coming up soon. And Skubal, his last time out against the Los Angeles Angels, I believe it was Friday night, against the Angels. Things got a little chippy between him and Zach Neto. And that's just how Skubal plays. He kind of has that dog in him. He seeks attention, I guess you could say, on the mound. And they awoke the bear. They poked the bear on Friday, they being the Angels, and I guess you could say Neto and Skubal got into it a little bit, word for word, no fist fights or anything, but Neto hit a home run off of him in the first inning, from what I'm remembering correctly, and then Skubal, next at bat, threw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, top of the zone. Neto went full swing, and he got him to swing and miss and struck him out. And then there was an exchange of words between the two players. Benches cleared. And just like that, Skubal got the best of him for the rest of the game as well. So here's, I guess you could say, a few of his 2 strikeouts and a double play ground out from Skubal in that game.
Facing Taylor Ward in his 8th year with the Angels. Called strike 3. He crowded him with a 2-seamer and got him to flinch inning over.
Chances are nobody else is.
Yeah. Wave and a miss. Strike 3. It's a changeup that gets away, but first base is occupied. Darno. Ohapi at first. 1-2 on Rengifo. There's the ground ball. It's Keith. It's a flip. It's Sweeney. Double play.
You called it, Jason.
Skubal is currently up to 48 strikeouts, 41 innings pitched, and a 2.21 ERA. So he is kind of back to his Cy Young, I guess you could say, record from last year where he won the Cy Young, and he wants to go back-to-back this year. I'm trying to think. Nobody has really gone back-to-back for Cy Youngs, at least. And I think Skubal has a solid chance to do that as long as he continues his success down the stretch before the All-Star break and then coming back from the All-Star break as well. And it's just awesome to see because he gives up a lot of weak contact, and the ball doesn't travel very well. If it is traveling, it's solo home runs because he doesn't allow many people on base. So it's easy, I guess you could say easy work for Skubal on the mound for the Tigers, and that's the Tigers' ace. The next time you go out, it's Jack Flaherty. After that, it's Reese Olson. After that, it's Jackson Jobe, another young phenom. And then everybody who overlooked Casey Mize comes out every fifth day, and he shuts down a lot of the opposition. So Skubal and the rotation have been very dominant for this Tigers. And it hasn't just been the rotation, it's been hitting as well. Like I mentioned, top 5 in the American League in a lot of categories. And the Tigers hitters just like to spray the ball all over the field. And that's a recipe for success for the Tigers this season. So I guess you could say the Tigers are still on the top of the American League Central. After today's, I guess you could say, games, Tigers will still be on top, up 5-0 against the Angels as we speak. And it's a great feeling to be at the top. Detroit sports on the come up. Tigers, Lions, Pistons, and Red Wings. So until next time, I'm Austin Shattuck. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Austin's Academy Sports.